Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and along with me is the comeback kid from Kelowna, Bethany McChesney. Just,
Oh, I
just,
hope
just,
this isn't my comeback.
just dive in. Just dive in. Let's go. Because I mean, this is all gonna be Kelowna. We're gonna have some guests about Kelowna, so let's just hear about it. Because obviously, maybe not your best race.
No, no, it was far from my best race, but yeah, I knew going into the race I was super underprepared. My long runs haven't been very long. I was really focusing on DECA, so short, fast, flat stuff. But then even just living where I live, I got to a hill, so our ski hill, which is a hilarious ski hill in the first place, and like twice, so like zero technical stuff, zero hill stuff, like severely underprepared for a race that was 24K in one of the biggest mountains I've ever stepped foot on. So I think my headspace was even all off all week with just feeling so unprepared for this. So I just kept thinking, just focus on having fun with it, having fun. And then battling some injury stuff too, also made me a little bit nervous. So just with my Achilles issue that I've had now for 2 years, some days are fine and some days are not fine, and I just never know for sure what day it's going to be. Um, yeah, so I was not feeling very confident leading into this one. And really, with big races, the mental side of it is so important. And I probably didn't do a really good job of mentally preparing myself um, for this one. So I was probably too focused on like just have fun, Beth, just enjoy it. And then yeah, the gun went off and it was like I was spit out the back and we went right into some technical bog running for about a mile. And I get so uneasy with certain things until my ankle is really warmed up. And I just found myself all of a sudden in like 20th place. And yeah, the gap just, and then I tried to keep my head in it, but I found pushing off on quick stuff was hurting my Achilles, and then anything that hit downhills was hurting. I have heel bursitis, so I was like, I just can't. Every time I tried to push, one thing would hurt or the other. I was like, oh, I was just so I felt like I just couldn't race, and there's such a different mindset that goes into when you're racing a race than you're just running it. And I couldn't get my head into that next gear of push, and just kind of accepting the pain that comes with the actual racing side of things. And but yeah, so in the race though, also some of it too that got in my head too much was all week leading up, the forecast said 25 degrees and sunny.
Yeah.
So I packed sports bra and shorts. And then the night before the race, all of a sudden it was showing a low of 1 degree and rain possible flurries. So I started to have like mild panic attacks and PTSD of Tahoe in
I was
2019.
waiting for the gloves. I was waiting for the dollar store floppy gloves.
I know. Well, and you know what? So it was late before, and I was like, if there was a store here, I would buy anything right now. And I started devising these plans to like keep wool socks in a Ziploc bag in my pack, and just in case, because I have a really big problem with getting cold hands. Like when I grocery shop and I go into the cold section and I grab the milk, my hands go numb. Like
In
it's a
fairness,
problem.
grocery stores are freezing cold.
They are.
Yeah.
So, like, I have a problem with numb hands. And yes, I've tried to train it out of me. So, you can give me all your suggestions. I've probably tried it. So, I was starting to get really panicky and I lost a lot of sleep, even over what am I going to do? My hands are going to freeze. So, thankfully, though, Nicole Miracle had brought a stash of blag mitts. So, I bought a pair from her in the parking lot right before the race, and it did, honestly, it was a lifesaver because we summited the first ascent, which was actually extremely beautiful and very runnable. It was about an hour to the top, and you come out into this beautiful bowl, and there's a lake on top of the mountain, and it started to hail
Oh
Like
God.
it was raining the whole way up, a little bit spitting, and then all of a sudden hail started pelting. And I started to laugh because I was like, this is not at all what the forecast said. Like it was just this mountain weather is just so crazy. And I was freezing at the top, and yeah, sometimes the winds were so strong, and I was still doing obstacles well. Like I wasn't feeling obstacles, but again, it's so different when you've kind of your mind isn't in race mode anymore, and you naturally just take your time a bit better. um but yeah, the course was so incredibly beautiful. Like I don't know if I've ever run on such a beautiful course. So also not racing, I could kind of take it in a little bit more. So I would stop and be like, wow, this is really cool. And even just kind of cheering people on along the way. But yeah, I couldn't get into racing, and everything kind of hurt. Like it was probably one of the worst runs for my injuries. The downhill was a couple of kilometers long, and it just pounded into my heel, and I just could not go. And that's a significant amount of time lost when you can't fly down those downhills. And it was service road, so it was quite jarring too on the body. And yeah, so all in all, like it was um such a beautiful course, probably one of the most beautiful courses with kind of everything mixed in it. I just wasn't in the race. The second climb though was epic. It was also about an hour long, but it was the vertical on it was almost like nothing I've done, just hands and feet. If it was raining at that point, or it had rained more, they probably would have needed ropes. It was that vertical. And it was just relentless also, just super steep and more in like long grass and rocks and everything. And there was no running that one. I didn't see anybody running it. It was just pure power hiking. Yeah, and then you come into the village, into the biggest thing with this one though was there was long stretches where you didn't touch an obstacle.
Mhm.
So those long climbs, you would go almost an hour without touching an obstacle, and then all of a sudden there'd be Atlas carry. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is nice to just stop for a minute. They were really short on volunteers as usual. Um, and again, like I heard in some of the age group races, people would kind of fall off obstacles, and there was nobody there, and so no one would call them on it and stuff like that. So which is too bad for a
Yeah.
championship race. But I know at the start of the ultra there was only 3 volunteers on the whole course, which is so unsafe.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's a huge distance, people to be out there and not have anyone around. And
Yeah,
we are being terrible Canadians. We're supposed to like do this kind of stuff and step up and volunteer and be friendly and helpful, and we are doing shit.
I know. It's a problem right now in the scene, yeah. So yeah, anyways, the last bit was really fun. All the obstacles were really condensed in the last part. And yeah, and at that point I was just having fun with it, and I just wanted to finish. And I finished, and like I was cramping pretty bad. Obviously, it's like double my longest run ever in the last probably year. So finishing it was still just it was great for me. And I had some friends that kind of ran along with me for the last couple kilometers. And um yeah, so it was just a very different race experience for me. I enjoyed it, but I there were sections too where I just got really down on myself. And as I think we do as elite racers, where you just kind of feel like you don't really belong, or like maybe I shouldn't have done this, or why didn't I prepare better, or all the negative thoughts that kind of can take over in the really dark times of races. And but yeah, I don't know if I could have done a bit better with my mental game, but yeah, I just didn't have it this weekend. But
But you know what? I mean, one, not a huge surprise to you going in, right? Because I mean, like you said, this was a race more for enjoying it, to have fun, to be part of it. You never
yeah,
really considered yourself a contender on this race, right? Because
no,
let's be straight out, right? Horses for courses. It's
yeah,
like, Tahoe, that was another one that's not your course, but put you in something like Red Deer or something that's flat, fast, and runnable. It's a completely different world.
yeah,
And that's what I mean. So horses for courses. It wasn't a big surprise. I'm sure you always go to any race going, maybe it's not my course, but I think maybe I can sneak in there. Like we all get.
Yeah. You always hope like race day magic still kind
Yeah.
of pulls through something, but I think this was just so far out of anything that I'm really good at that it just was not going to happen for me that day. So,
And there was some damn good competition.
wow. Well, you look at the women in the top 10, like they all live and train in the mountains
Yeah. Yeah.
and amazing mountain runners. Like, and they were gone,
Yeah.
just gone. So, yeah, like amazing in the top 10, 12, 15 women and just what they did. So, yeah.
So that's it. So you come back, reset, refocus,
Mhm.
and probably on more of a goal oriented thing to get back into getting ready for deck and stuff. Yeah, so that's the point of the training now, right? You're back on that. That's where we're going. That's what's next.
Yeah. Well, what's next is OCR Worlds.
Yeah, that's right. OCR Worlds, and that's 3K. At least that's short.
Yeah, I'll probably do both just for fun. And again, even during the race, I was like, oh, I shouldn't even sign up for elite. I'm not an elite runner. But I love OCR World is so fun. You like the obstacles are just such a blast. So that one will be the next one. So I do have to get the volume up a little bit again so that I don't completely flounder on another mountain.
You cannot possibly not race elite because I'm racing elite, and if I race elite and you don't, that will just be comical.
I know. You're right. Okay, good point.
Yeah, you can't. They can't have that happen. That would be so bad.
Yeah, especially how much we talk about if you can race elite, you just do.
Yeah, you just do, right? If you're qualified, you go, you do it, right? And
Yeah.
that's the deal. Yeah, like
Yeah.
and I'm coming in, I'm going for, not DFL. That's the goal. That
Yeah.
somebody cramps up and can't finish the course. That's what I'm after. I'm going to beat that
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Well, and races need people of all abilities too to just show up and give it your best, right? And I mean, not everybody can be racing for a podium or the races wouldn't fill out at all.
No, and realistically for me, I'm very realistic. I know that I have the ability to finish anywhere from middle of the pack to back of the pack. That's where I'm going to be. If I have a race of my life, I'm going to be somewhere in the middle to, the
Yeah.
kind of second, third. If I have a regular race, I'm going to be towards the back. But that's cool. I'm there again, experience, notch in
Yeah.
the belt, that kind of deal. That's what I'm after. So I can't possibly fail.
Yeah.
Speaking of fail, burpees, any?
So there was burpees at the spear and burpees so the finish was actually twister, inverted wall. So there was burpees at twister also. Everything else was run loops.
I meant you. Did you have any penalties?
Oh yeah, sorry, spear throw. And then it was raining when I hit Olympus.
Oh, okay. But like
So Olympus
everybody.
and Stairway were right beside each other, and so both of those were run loops, and I failed them both. But Stairway, the hold was so high.
We saw Hawk Call took a penalty on it.
Oh wow, okay. It was, and then with it being wet and yeah, I couldn't get a hold on the first. I could jump as high as I could to just nick the bottom of the first hold. And actually I was with a group of girls and I ran up, tried to grab it. I looked stunned because it felt higher than it's ever felt. And they all looked at me and then they all just went for the penalty loop. They're like, I'm not wasting another second.
It's funny because Hawk failed it. Looked like he tried once or twice. The coverage went to shit, and it was
Oh,
you can't I can't blame the guys. The guys did a great job in the booth. Everybody did their best. It was just piss poor signal. What are you gonna do a dozen times? So there's nothing they could have done about it. So it's no insult to the people working on it. It just went to shit. And I mean, so you couldn't tell really too much what was going on, but you did see that Hawk failed. And it looked like he tried once or twice. I believe Christopher Glasky didn't do it as well. I think she tried once or twice and then took a penalty. But both Lindsay and Emma got over it.
okay.
First crack, so it was good. But then everybody failed the spear. Like
Everybody failed the spear. It was so weird. Like almost
what was
all the
different
men.
about it? Top
So
three men.
yeah, I stepped on the rope, which I've never done before. I think my hands were numb and I don't know. but it was slightly uphill, but there was nothing really that weird about it. It was wet, like it was raining at that point, and I think that was around the time it was hailing, so it might have thrown people off.
Hmm. I don't know. Like I just couldn't believe. So you saw, I think it's Ryland first there, miss, and I was like, oh my
Yeah,
god, now we're gonna have a big turnaround. And again, it was very pixelated and tough to see what's going on at this time. But okay, oh yeah, yeah, he missed, and the Hawk shows up, and you're like, oh, was Hawk just take the lead? Hawk misses. You're like,
yeah,
holy crap! And then Atkins shows up,
he
and
misses.
yeah, but actually, so I thought he missed, right? I'm watching, and I'm like, oh my god, he missed because I'm watching with Ryan. I said he missed it. It's like top three all miss.
Yeah,
And then the commentators are think, oh, I think he hit it. I think he hit it. And then they thought he was ahead for a long time because pulled out ahead or whatever they thought. But I was like, no, I'm sure he missed, and I was right later on. So, but it
yeah,
was crazy. And then that's how I believe Mick and Shaun Stephens-Whale got back into the hunt.
yeah,
I think they both hit their spears.
they did. Yeah,
So, but it was just a great race, and I mean, great showing by a lot of Canadians, and we're gonna talk to a couple. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, all in all, it looked fantastic. I mean, I'm sure you were more disappointed, but I'm a little disappointed it wasn't a nicer day because it would have been. I think it would have made maybe it wouldn't have made for a better race. Maybe the wet and craziness caused some of the interesting action, and
Yeah, like I think it being the conditions that it were, the obstacles were that much more important because people were failing at the top of both of the races, the men and women. So it did mix things up a little bit and it made the obstacles that much more important to actually get through. Um, yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible conditions. I've definitely raced in worse. And the rain did stop halfway through. So the second half was dry by the time the elites got there, which was a bit more of the majority of the grip stuff that you can actually fail.
well, you did see Jack Bauer even a couple times when he's checking in on the broadcast to do a little commentate. He was like shivering. He was just so cold.
Oh,
It looked
I if you were standing around, it was freezing. Like I know Nicole had two jackets on when I found her in the beginning too. It was really cold.
would have been a
Well,
good
it
day.
snowed.
Yeah, yeah, would have been a good day for the old dry robe.
Oh yeah, but nobody would have packed that stuff because the forecast leading up to it was 25 and sunny. Like I was actually more worried about potentially getting heat stroke.
Good news.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, well, you know what though? Good trip, good fun. It looked like a beautiful place to be.
Oh yeah, it was beautiful. I don't know if they'll have it back there, but it was honestly one of the most beautiful courses I've ever done.
How did it look attendance wise? I haven't gone through the numbers yet, but it didn't. I didn't think it would be great.
No, it was pretty low attended. For the it was also the problem with the location too is that it was just so far from everywhere. So a lot of the people that were there were kind of outside of the elites were kind of local.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Right now, with travel being so expensive, it's hard, and that's what you're going to get, and that's why you're going to have to hug major metropolises and areas where you can draw from the local community, because I
Yeah.
don't think you're going to get as many travelers. That's why Blue will probably be okay because we're not too far from Toronto, and
Yeah.
probably be all right with that. But stuff like Kelowna, I mean, it's beautiful, it's great, it is what it is, but it is really kind of isolated.
Yeah, and so Big White is actually an hour drive outside of Kelowna up into the mountains.
So let's say
And
you,
Kelowna would be the biggest city center closest to it.
yeah, now Kelowna has an airport that you can fly into,
Yeah, it does.
right?
Yeah.
But it's not accessible from everywhere.
No, it's a small airport actually.
Yeah. So I mean, most people probably flew into Vancouver and then had to get
Yeah.
from Vancouver up to,
And then it's a 5 hour drive from there.
yeah. So I don't want to call it a bad choice for a venue because it's probably a great choice for a venue, but just with the timing the way it is, people are not traveling the way they were, and yeah, it is what it is. So sadly,
Expenses, it's hard to rent a vehicle.
oh yeah,
Vehicle
yeah.
rentals are in crazy expensive, like the more money than the rooms itself to rent. So yeah, I think it's just the time and place right now with what's going on in the world and the expenses of everything. So
And I mean, it's expensive to do the race. The races are expensive just to sign
Right.
up alone. And then you have, like you say, the vehicles and everything. But in a way, I'm not going to come down on Spartan either, because for them to go there and build for 2 weeks and to get their gear there and people to, that's super expensive. So
Yeah.
it's a, it's a vicious circle. So I don't really know. I just think
Yeah.
now all of these traveling roadshow races are struggling. They're having a tough time. And
Yeah.
it's understandable. I think the only reason something like DECA and High Rocks is doing okay is because, yes, they probably pay a little more for their venues, but they're only there for a day or two. They're not there
Yeah.
for 2 weeks. They're not paying for everybody's accommodation to work there for 2 weeks. So it's
And the
in
setup would not take as long.
no, I mean, I had a chat with Kevin Gregory recently, and that will come out soon. And he's like, yeah, they were there the day before, they set up, and they're gone right after. Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. Anyway, it's tough. It's very tough for Spartan. It's very tough for Spartan fans to keep up. I'm really hopeful that the economy turns a little bit and we can all stay racing and keep having good races. But I think that these permanent venues are maybe going to be the way most of them, and you'll see Spartan. I mean, again, I'm just guessing, just throwing it out there. I think you'll see Spartan decline with the number of races they do.
Yeah.
And then you'll have these permanent venues, and maybe they'll latch onto them, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? And again, we'll be going to our permanent venue in 2 weeks, not this weekend, but next.
Yes, 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
Very excited. North of 7. Sign up now. I'm not sure how many tickets are left, but I know they've been doing, I think, pretty well. But yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. 3K or a 2 hour, as many laps as you can get in for that. North of 7.
And there is a kids race.
There is a kids race. Awesome. I will participate.
You can run with one of mine. You can borrow one.
I'm gonna smash. I'm gonna kick some butt, man. Just as long as they don't try hard, that's fine. I'll get them on the obstacles, heavy carries and such. Awesome. With that said, we're gonna get to our guests multiple. So we're gonna have 2 guests on this episode, and we're gonna start out with Margaret Jessen. All right. We're gonna just fire right in, and like we said, we just introduced you before. Margaret Jessen, just coming off Kelowna, had an awesome finish. But Beth, before we start with Margaret, I want you to kind of maybe talk a little bit about pre-race with Margaret.
Pre-race with Margaret. Yeah, I was giving Dave a bit of the lowdown. I was saying how we walked into the registration together and you had your race packet. And I was like, I didn't know you were racing. And then you told me you registered the night before around 9 p.m. because you'd basically been guilt tripped and begged into doing it.
A little bit. Yeah.
The whole warm up, you were unsure and didn't want to do it and had so much apprehension. And honestly, until the gun went off, I didn't know if you were going to race. And at one point you were in your head, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why did I sign up? And I was like, I have to walk away from Margaret or I'm not going to start this race.
I know, it was such a bad attitude. It's like the worst mindset going into that race.
But
you ran great though.
And first off, who was harassing you to do it? Was it Jack Bauer? Because I know that Jack picked you in his race frame. So I'm assuming he was the one pestering you so he would get more points.
It was a little bit him. I didn't really know who he was until he reached out to me, and then I found out he did like the podcast where he predicts people. And he was kind of pumping my tires and just saying like, this race is really good for you. Like, I think you can do really well. He sent me like the list of girls going. It wasn't like a super deep stacked field like I expected it to be. So yeah, that was kind of like the start of it. And then he sent me the prize money, which I wasn't even aware of. I had no idea that there was like top 10 payout. I hadn't even looked into it. Like this race was never even on my schedule. So that kind of was a little bit intriguing. And then I looked at the map and I was like, I'm just tired of like throwing my body up and down mountains. Like the ski resorts, just like up and down double black diamonds. And so when I saw the map, I was like, well, doesn't look that bad. So that was also intriguing. So I just kind of started to look into it more. And then kind of like as the week went on, like leading up to Kelowna, like more and more people were asking like, are you racing? Are you racing? And I was going to be out there anyways, like, because Braden was racing and we already had a house and Airbnb with a bunch of people. So I was going to be out there anyways. So people just keep being like, well, you got nothing to lose. Like, just go run a race. Like, you're going to want to get a run in anyways. Like, you can do it. And yeah, I don't know. People just started being like, you should just do it. Like, even if you don't run hard, just go have fun. And I was like, yeah, okay. Like, if I'm going to go and race, I'm going to go and race. I'm not going to just go have fun. So, but yeah, leading up, like, even that morning, like, I don't know, I didn't even know if I was going to do it. And I was taking my shoes off to like take my warm-up pants off. And immediately I was like, no, I'm not feeling it. Like mentally, I just like was not there. I've never felt like that before a race before. So it was super strange for me. But I think I just like didn't have a legit excuse not to race. So that was the hardest part about, like, if I was injured, I would have been like, okay, yeah, no. But I didn't have any good reason at all other than like mentally I didn't feel like racing. But yeah, I did carry that mentality through my race, which also kind of sucked. Mental battle.
But you ended up you had a great race. Like everything went really well. I believe where'd you end up? You ended up eighth. Eighth overall.
Yeah.
Like that's really good in a race like that.
Yeah,
So
I was happy in the end.
did it turn around at some point during the race where you're like, okay, wait a minute, I'm in a shit mood and I didn't think I'd do it, but I'm starting to do okay. This isn't too bad.
Yeah, not really. I took off from the start line and just kind of like started slow like I normally do. Like I usually break my race into threes. So like the first like 7K, I'll just like run like pretty easy, like walk some hills or power hike, like if I'm not feeling it. And then I usually go a little bit harder during the second 7K and then like balls to the wall during the last seven. Um, and so I took off relatively slow in the beginning, just like easy run, and was pretty far back. And I was kind of like counting like where I was in the pack. And yeah, I was like getting more and more into my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in like 11th or 12th. I was like, all right, I need to like step on the gas here and like work a little bit harder. But my legs felt like concrete. Like that was probably the worst part about it is, yeah, I decided to race. I didn't really prepare for it at all. Like I didn't really do recovery leading up like I normally would. And my legs were just concrete. Like I literally could not make them move any faster on the uphills. And so a couple of the girls were kind of like picking me off and passing me. And I was just like desperately trying like so hard to hold on. And I was like thinking the whole time that first big climb, I was like, should I just like ask them to drive me down when I get to the top of this hill? Like that was literally what was going through my head the whole time. I was just like so ready to just like call it. I was like, what am I doing? Like it was like crappy weather. I was like cold. It was rainy. I was windy. I was like, this is terrible. So yeah, I was just like the whole time I was just thinking like, oh, I should just ask for a ride down, just like go enjoy my afternoon. But of course, like once like you get to the top, like the downs, I've really enjoyed the downs. So I was like happy to start going down a bit again. And then I started to like get back into the rhythm of it. But yeah, no, I was pretty much inside my head like the whole time until beater. And that's when I finally like was like, okay, I'm close now. I just need to finish. Like I think it was like 17 or 18 kilometers at that point. And I was like, okay, like it's time for me to step on the gas and just finish this so I can just enjoy the rest of my day. But no, I was pretty much inside my own head like the whole day. Just terrible.
Did you because I mean we couldn't really see a lot from the stream. Did you end up partnered up with anyone, like have someone you're near, you were racing, someone to keep you and keep you going kind of deal?
Yeah, I was like right behind Amanda Nadeau for the majority of the race. I was just following her blue shorts. So I was like pretty close behind her like the whole time until we got up to Olympus. And then me and her went on Olympus at the same time and she passed it. I slipped right at the last hole.
Oh.
My knee slipped off. So then I went and did the penalty loop and then she was gone. She went and did Stairway and off she went. And then I just like ran super fast down the hill trying to catch up to her. And I stuck with her relatively close, but she was too far out for me to catch up to her again. But I kept her in sight pretty much the whole time. And then on the uphills, there was Natalie She's wearing a purple jacket, so she was kind of back and forth with me. And then also the girl that came behind me, I can't remember what her name is, but
Teresa?
I think
No, Monica Homewood.
Monica, yeah, she was wearing Hokas. So me and her were kind of like back and forth like the whole time. And she was really powerful on the uphills, and then I would beat her on the downhills. So we were kind of even that way. But yeah, so the four of us were kind of stuck together for the most of it, which was really cool. Like all my races this year, I've been in no man's land for the majority of them. So they haven't really been enjoyable. So it was really nice to actually run with people, and it kind of like gives you a bit more motivation when you're running around those people just to try and keep up or try and stay in front of them. So that was really good. And then I knew like Monica was really good on the uphills. And after we did beat her, there was that uphill through the disc golf course. And I was like, oh boy, like we're so close now. Like I just need to hold on. But I guess I found out afterwards she failed beat her. And so I was able to stay ahead of her and get through those last few obstacles. But yeah, it was really nice to actually be around people. And I had caught up to the girls at spear throw. I got my spear. I couldn't figure out why when I was going along Z-wall, like so many people were burping. I was like, why do so many people fail Z-wall? Like what is going on? But I didn't realize the spear throw was right there. This was like the first race I didn't actually like study the map and like know where the obstacles were or anything. I was like, what is going on? Like all these people are burping. Like, is it super wet or what? And then I finished the Z-wall. I was like, oh, the spear. So I got the spear and a few of the girls didn't. So that was kind of exciting too. I just passed like a couple of the girls in the burpee pit there. And then, yeah, I just desperately tried to hang on for dear life from that point on.
It wasn't just a few of the girls. It was like a herd of everybody failed that spear. Like,
yeah, I don't know what was going on. Like I pulled my spear. It was laying on the ground. So I pulled it in and held it in my hands like I always do. And I second guessed myself because to me, it didn't look as if the rope was long enough. And I was like, if I throw this spear, is it even going to reach the target? Because it was laying on the ground, but it wasn't even close to the target. So I was like looking for a knot in the rope and there was no knot. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to throw it and see what happens. So I just threw it. It went in and I was like, okay, sweet. Here we go. Like off to the next. But I kind of like tried to look and see like who was in the burpee pit to see like kind of where I was like placement wise. Because I did kind of decide like my goal for if I was going to race would be to try and hang on to like top 10. So I was really happy that I was able to like get a little bit of a lead there. I think those burpees would have just destroyed me internally.
you might have been the first woman to make it.
Really?
Well, I'm trying to think. Like, so I know Lindsay and Emma missed it. Chris Rogloski missed it. Who else was up there? Annie Doobie. Annie,
Yeah.
I don't know if Annie may have made it. She may not. I'm not sure. Didn't see Casey Monroe or Amanda, so I don't know. But if you're saying like, I don't know, like it looked like a lot of people failed. And the men too. The top 3 men failed it. So,
wow, that's great. I don't know what was going on with that.
well, Bethany said she just stepped on a rope, so I mean, wasn't any different. But
Yeah.
That is literally the worst when the rope gets in the way.
I've never done it before. I stepped right through the rope. I went between my legs. I don't know. My head was out in all different directions.
Oh man.
have you ever tried to practice it without the rope? It's
Me?
so much easier. Yeah.
Yeah. That I always practice without. I don't have a rope on my spear at home.
And it's way easier.
Oh, it's way better. I try and envision there being a rope there, but it's nowhere near relatable.
Yeah.
No, I have a rope on mine, and it's it's still not too bad. We still hit it pretty routinely. But I went to a friend's one time. We did a little thing there, and his had no ropes, and we're hitting them from like 40 feet, like just no problem. It's way better. So, I mean, obviously you can't do that. It's a little bit dangerous, but it's great. How did your obstacles go for the race? Did you have any trouble? Did you how many?
They were okay. I slipped off Olympus right at the end there. I missed the last hole. And the lower half of it was pretty slick from the rain. And then Stairway to Sparta, I can never get now that it's in beast mode. Like I've struggled with that ever since, but it's just a clear indicator I need to work on my upper body strength. And then just the rig because of those dang ropes. I went to grasp onto that first rope and just like it got caught on the bar, like the ropes that were holding the bar up, and then it was just game over from there. So I just went and ran that penalty loop. But other than that, I got the other ones, which was nice. I'm honestly just always happy when I can land my spear, because that can be such a make or break of the race.
So I have an issue with the rig.
What's that?
So, well, the night, I think it was the night before, Bear went online and did a Q&A and a little live stream, which is great. I love when they do that. That's fantastic. It's really good to answer last minute questions people have, and it's just a good hype. I love it. It's great. So there he went on and he said that they have fixed the ropes on the rig and cut the parts of the rubber off. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the backstory, Margaret, but at Blue Mountain, I told them to do that. Like, I told Bear, I told Johnny, I told Coble, I told all of them, this is how they're done at the other races. You need to do this. And they never did. Right. And then it was, they were letting everybody grab the top. Right. So the night before, Bear said they cut the ropes off so people won't be grabbing the top.
Right.
I took that as you weren't allowed. And then I saw everybody grabbing above the rope. And I'm like, so at the start line, did they tell you guys you were allowed to grab above it, or what did they?
Honestly, they didn't really go over like the rules of the obstacles. They kind of did like a brief like burpees for the spear to the boys. And then when the girls came up, they were like, okay, well, you heard what the boys got told, so just say your ruse and let's go. But they didn't go over like the rig or anything at all. But we did check out the rig the night before and see that they had cut the middle section of that plastic off, which was great. But I don't know, I just find like with girls, I mean, obviously, yeah, like if you have a lot of upper body strength, you're fine. I just find like our hands are like, I don't know, not as strong or big, and so it's tough to grab like that thick rope. And because it was wet again, like it's still slippery. But yeah, no, they didn't go over it. So
I honestly assumed we had to grab it because they had said, well, they cut it off, so you can't. And I was on the rig going for it, and the guy was like, you can grab the top. And I had already grabbed the other part. And so I kept trying to re-grip to get up. And I just couldn't get up on top, but they didn't tell us that you could grab on top. And again, I should have asked before I got on the rig, but he said it to me as I was grabbing it.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, I grabbed the top in Blue Mountain and completely sliced my finger open. So remember on the Z-Whale, I was like, I got a bloody finger.
Yep.
Ever since then, I've been like scarred of that. Like, I'm so terrified of slicing my finger open because it was so sharp, that metal.
Well, it's not meant to be grabbed.
No, exactly.
Not built that way. That's why they have that lovely rope thing that you're supposed to grab. But so Spartan, I love you guys, and Bear, you're fantastic. But let's talk some priorities here. Skip the ruse and explain the rules.
Yeah.
If you're going to do one and not the other, skip the ruse, do the rules. Much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're going to spend time cutting the rubber off these holds, or just make people grab the holds, then like don't allow people to grab on top.
Exactly.
I don't think we saw on the coverage a single person grab the ropes, which meant you could have just left them disconnected and saved the money.
Exactly.
Don't even buy them. Just hang some nylon webbing in a hook, because that's all people are using anyway.
Yeah, it's so true.
You could put. I think I made the joke when we were watching. I'm like, they could put barbed wire around that stick and it won't matter because nobody's touching it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think also there's like some conflicting like opinions on like whether you can just grab like right on top of the rope, or if you can grab like the rope that's dangling. And then when I talked to somebody in Montreal about it, I said, does the rig have those ropes on it? And they said, no, we're leaving those out of Canada now because it's too dangerous because of the way that they were manufactured with that plastic on it. So then I was under the impression they wouldn't even be including them at all. But it just seems like they can't seem to make up their minds. I get it, like championship race and whatever, they should have the rig in beast mode. But yeah, I was just kind of surprised like they didn't go over any of that stuff in the starting corral.
They truly need to hire me. I'm really certain of this.
You can be their communicator.
I'm telling you, it's wow. Sometimes it does blow me away, and it's not knocking the guys. The guys do a ton of work and they do some amazing stuff. The boots on the ground, they're they're amazing, hard workers and stuff. And they're not stupid people. They are good people.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes they're doing too many things, and then that makes them miss the little things that on the high end competitive side. Because I mean, you think of a race director, he's trying to run that whole race, right? He's thousands of people coming, and he's got to deal with, well, you know, really the majority of the people are open waivers and age groupers. There's like 20 of you guys, so really, who gives a crap? You guys aren't bringing any money in, so you got to cater to the people bringing in the damn money. But at the same time, to grow the sport, you have to cater to you guys and make sure that it's done right and it looks good and that it's fair and that it makes sense. And sometimes I think that slips away.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, our opinions should matter too, because we've done so many of these that we kind of know ways things should and shouldn't be done. So, you know, the people that are going to do their one-off Spartan don't really have much of a comparison though.
No.
Yeah, that's very true.
No, and you and like I said, you guys are at the point where you can say this was a good event because of this. This one maybe came up a little short because of this. Whereas you got your person doing your one-off, you're like, yeah, it was great, because you got nothing to compare it to.
Yeah.
You know? It's like seeing.
It has been nice having a change up of Bear running the Canadian races, because he's like the Red Deer race, like he swapped the whole course around.
Yeah.
So that was super nice to like run like a new course at the same venue. And the way that he's kind of been putting obstacles back to back at some of these races, like it's really creative. So it's been like a really nice change up.
And he's been in this since he was like 16. Like he knows his shit. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Probably had these ideas in the back of his head, just wondering when he's going to get the chance to try him out.
Yeah, he is doing a great job. So hats off, Bear. We do appreciate it. Now fix the fucking ropes.
Yeah. Get some new ones for 2023.
Well, and honestly, like a different grip thing. It's such a big rope. Like to make women actually grab it. Like
Grow
my hands
stronger.
don't fit. Okay, fine.
That'll be our winter goal.
Yeah. Or again, maybe we could have a situation where some of them are the women's side and it's a rope with a smaller diameter, and then the other half is the men's side. Why not?
Or even like, you know, those Force 5, like, I don't want to say dildo things, but dildo things. And they have the grip around
grip on them.
Kind of
Yeah.
like even those, like, those are hard when it's wet, but it's also doable. You know what I mean? Like how many like females and males like have failed that rig with those ropes just because they're so wide and slippery.
They're so wide.
They are. And even the Force 5 ropes, like they have regular Force 5 ropes. And I don't think that you can go on the Force 5 site and buy dildos, but you can give it a shot if you like. We'll see if I can get you a discount code. But Margaret Jessen discount code. Margaret Jessen discount code right there, Force 5. But their ropes are a much thinner diameter, right? So they're more of an 1.25 inch diameter, whereas I think the Spartan ones are probably a 2-inch diameter. So it makes obviously a huge difference. And definitely, I don't know, maybe when Spartan bought them, they just thought, this is what we got and let's go with it. Who knows where they came from? Who knows what the supplier was? But now they're stuck with them. And honestly, they got to stick with them at least till the end of the year, and then you can change it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but we'll see. All in all, your day turned around. How did you feel when you crossed the finish line then?
I was happy. I was really happy to just finish. I was exhausted, but it was good. The sun started to come out, which was really nice. But it was kind of a weird finish, like very underwhelming. Like Twister at the end was really cool. And then there was the inverted wall. But no fire jump, obviously probably like a fireman or something, but there was literally nobody there except for Amanda was there, which was nice. But there was no one there. Like, I knew the little girl handing out the medal, so that was nice, but like literally like no post-race hugs, no one high-fiving. Like it was just a very strange atmosphere. Like typically in most of the corrals that I've raced this year, at least, like people are just chilling in the finish line, like high-fiving, congratulating everything. But it was kind of like I crossed the finish line and I was like, okay, well, that's that, I guess. Like happy I was done. I don't know. Did you find that, Bethany? Like I just found like it was so quiet for maybe the bad weather, just people weren't out.
Yeah, I think people maybe just took off a little bit to get warm, because standing around when you're still wet and it's cold, like you start to shake and stuff.
That is
And
true.
now I finished way, way behind you. So like the crowds that were interested in the elite field had already gone and showered and were like getting warm. So yeah, it was, but the festival area in general did not have many people, and maybe the weather played a part. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. And it was kind of a smaller finish area too, just the way that they had it set up. I found it wasn't as, I don't know, like if welcoming is the right word. It just didn't feel as big as some of the other ones have been. So maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, I was happy when I was finished. But I was just kind of like meh about the whole day.
And we talked about it earlier. It did seem like it maybe wasn't as well attended as some of them, just because of the remoteness of the location, right? Although it's a great location, it is a bit out there and a bit difficult to get to. Like you were coming from where?
We came from Calgary, which was 8 hours to
So you
drive.
drove out, yeah. Good
Yeah,
for
I
you.
looked
I'm
at
proud.
flights and they were just super expensive. And then for the cheaper flights, they only flew on weird days, which was really hard for me to get off work. And the other thing was like if you flew to Kelowna, like you still had to drive an hour to get to the venue. Like I didn't realize how far outside of Kelowna Big White actually was. I'd never been there before. But yeah, so it was like an 8 hour drive from door to door, which was a full day event.
That's right. I'm the 8 hour drive guy. I'm all for it. It's good for you. 8 hours. If you had flown, I think you're almost going to beat it with the car because of, like you say, you're going to have to go to the airport. You're going to have to be there 2 hours, 3 hours early, go through all that stuff, fly there, land, rent a car, try to find a rental car, drive
True.
at least from Kelowna out to the venue. I mean, you're going to be darn close.
That's true. And with the way that the flights have been going this year, you probably have at least a 2 hour delay.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, at least it's a scenic drive. I don't drive out that way too often, so it is nice to go and check it out and see all the scenery again.
Yeah, and I think that might be the biggest takeaway from this race was it was a beautiful location.
It was beautiful. Yeah, the lakes that we ran around were amazing. I couldn't stop looking at them. Like after we went through Dunkwall and you started hiking up again, like I actually just like stopped to like look around because it was so beautiful.
Well, are we going to see you out at Blue Mountain?
No.
What happened?
I threw my race shoes out after the race. I was like, I am not racing anymore this year. I wasn't supposed to race Kelowna. And I was like, if I don't have my race shoes, I can't race again this year. So they were pretty done at the end of the beginning of the season. And I needed new ones and I just couldn't find the style I was looking for. So I just raced in like worn down shoes all season. But yeah, I legitimately took them off and just put them in the trash can after the race.
What kind of shoes are they?
They're Innovate Mud Claws.
All right, so we have to do like everything in the world to get Innovate to send her some new
Someone's
shoes.
gonna find them for you.
We'll send you some Innovate so that you have no excuse. What size?
If you find me some, yeah. I'm not telling you. If you find me some, maybe I'll show up. But Blue Mountain is an awesome venue, but
yeah, you had to run there last year.
Gnarly. Yeah, it was good. It was good. But yeah, the amount of times they threw us up and down that mountain, oh my gosh, I was so over it by the end.
Yeah, I expect it'll be very similar this time, although you might be on different areas of the mountain. You might be, I think, further to the west, I would imagine this time.
Well, at least you get to check out some new scenery.
Yeah. I think they'll have you more to do with the village too. I think you'll see more of the village this time.
Okay. That would be really neat.
But that'll be cool. Well, that's awesome. Well, I am disappointed. Very angry. You know, Beth said you were coming and she lied. She does that all the time. But really appreciate you coming on, and we have to have you on again because like we not got any background. We haven't had a chance to talk with you very much and you know, get people to know you. So definitely have to have you again, and really appreciate it, Margaret.
Yeah, thank you. This was awesome.
Yeah,
good to catch up.
Congrats on a great race and an awesome finish, even though you were one hell of a cranky pants. So.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Thank you, though.
Dude, yeah, it's kind of been a whirlwind the last few days. Just got back. I was up at Big White for the entire month. So packed up yesterday and just got back.
Let me do this right. With us now is North American Championship Spartan Podium winner, third place, but doesn't matter. Shaun Stephens-Whale. How's it feel? This is a big breakout, man.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Dave. It feels really good. I still hasn't sunk in for sure. Just like how everything kind of just went right on the day. The preparation for like the whole build up, it just really went smoothly. And so I'm just really, really excited with how things turned out. Couldn't be happier for sure.
All right, so you were about to go to it. So let's start in. So this is like you prepped, man. You went out there a long time before. This was obviously a big deal to you. You were planning this race.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty much as soon as they told us that this championship was going to be held in BC at Big White, I decided I was going to, invest some time into it, some time and effort, make sure that I was all prepped for it. I've always known like mountain courses were my strength, but I feel like in the past I've always failed to live up to what I thought I could do just because of one reason or another. Usually it's the altitude, because most of these races are really high up, which makes anyone coming from sea level, they're at a big disadvantage. So I kind of knew that coming in. I knew the Big White venue was going to be something that no one had seen before. So I decided to book a place right on site for the entire month of August, just to make sure I was prepped and acclimated as much as I could be.
What kind of job do you have that they let you do this? Like, I want that job. They won't let me do that.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate. I've got I work as a contract geotechnical engineer. So I actually wasn't working for the month of August. I had it off. I wasn't working remotely or anything. So, but yeah, the job itself does offer a lot of flexibility, which allows me to travel and race. So yeah, it's really nice.
I swear, I think all of the OCR people, you're either a firefighter or an engineer. That is the only two jobs available for OCR people.
They're good jobs, I guess.
Not bad. So you go out there, you prep. So when the course map gets released, because I mean, you're out there and you are prepping, you're running up and down Big White, you're learning the area, you're getting the lay of the land. Then the map comes out. When the map comes out, are you like, I know this shit. Like, I know these trails, I know these paths, I know the way around.
Yeah, no, it was actually funny because the map that came out, I was super stoked that they released it early, because I was afraid that, it was going to be like a couple of days before the race again. And I would have trained on most of the trails, but I wouldn't be able to really focus my efforts on the trails that were going to be in the race. And so the map was released a few weeks early, which allowed me to really dial in all the different portions that were going to be on the actual race course. The first time I did it, actually, the course originally had us going down the ski runs that we came up. And the first time I did that, the top section of ski run was like moderately hard, but it was runnable. And I'm like, okay, this will be a solid effort. Atkins is going to love this stuff. Then once I did the second portion, I encountered like a million of these baby little tree stumps that were about 3 inches off the ground. And they were just like tripping daggers everywhere across the course. Along with that, it was a lot of bushwhacking. There was no steady ground and a lot of big logs that just were not very stable either, that you had to jump over and around. Hey guys, I don't know if you've seen the course or not, but it is pretty ugly out here. And I guess once they eventually took a look at it, they realized that, yeah, they couldn't do the course they originally had planned. So they switched up, which I was very happy about.
I find this the worst terrain. Like, I'm obviously nowhere near the trail runner you guys are, but I know that anytime it's hidden, deceptive, got that what looks like beautiful soft ground, and it ends up dagger tree stumps sticking up, like you say, or roots jumping out of you, it just scares the piss out of me. I don't know how you guys just throw caution to the wind and fly over it. I'm terrified of it. But so,
yeah, personally, I'm not great at there, but yeah, it is scary for sure.
So you get there, you've got it. You're really dialed in with the course. I mean, obviously you got to be feeling pretty confident, but at the same time, you're towing the line with Atkins, Rylan, Hawk, who have both made such a big presence, Ryan Woods, who is always a threat, Mick, Austin, like a lot of great guys. How's your confidence level at the start line? Are you feeling like this is still my race, I can still get in there, or are you starting to doubt yourself a little bit?
Yeah, the few days leading up to the race, I think, were some of the most anxious days I've ever lived. It's just I put all my chips in there. I was hiding nothing, like in some of these races you can hide behind excuses and you can feel like, hey, if I don't perform today, it's not me on my A day. This isn't like what I'm capable of. But I felt like I put everything on the line here. So this day is going to be me. This is going to be what I can do. And if I don't do well and I don't live up to what I think I can do, like that's going to be like a huge mental setback for me. And so I was really nervous coming into it. I didn't want to screw up, but I knew the competition was solid for sure. So I knew really those three guys, as well as Josiah, who kind of had a rough day out there, were going to be kind of the big guys I was going to cue off of. I knew like Mick would be always a threat, but Mick wasn't altitude adapted. He wasn't training in the mountains. Like I knew like no matter, like he had an awesome day to finish fifth as he did. And so like I really wasn't, the four threats were the guys that we mentioned, and I kind of kept them in the top of my mind. And going into the race, I was like, hey, you know what? Try and stay close to them, but you got to run your own race, because the way you're going to run best is if you run within yourself. And so that's kind of what I tried to do.
I was like that, and I was with you with Josiah. Like I'm perfectly honest, I picked Josiah to finish on the podium when I was doing the Bauer picks and everything. I thought this would do well, but of course I wasn't aware that he had been doing 8 million miles of running or biking throughout the entire week, so I didn't quite calculate that in there. But I still, a rough day for him. But I could see where he would have been a guy that was definitely thinking, hey, he could have a really good run there. So you guys take off, and it again, the stream was a little hard to follow, but it looked like it went out hot, a lot faster than I expected.
Yeah, well, it was a downhill start, which is a bit unique. It was kind of a botch start, to be honest, because they did the 3 all roos, and I guess we weren't vocal enough. It was a pretty small elite group, and so the announcer decided to redo the roos, and we redid them, and it was still quite uninspired, but I guess it was enough. But we were all kind of looking at each other, and she was like, "Go, go, go!" And we're like, oh, "Okay." So yeah, we blast off the line. I mean, it's a hot start. Like I definitely hadn't started a Spartan race that fast before. But you kind of had to, because the first 400, 500 meters was quite open and runnable. And then after that, it really did kind of bottleneck into this pretty marshy, overgrown Nordic ski trail section that went to the 2K point. So my thought going into the first 2K was, hey, look, it's going to be a fast start, but people aren't going to be able to run fast in that swampy section. And so no matter how fast the guys in front of you are running, your heart rate is not going to be at threshold. It's going to be pretty low. And so my thought was, just get into a good position. If you have to elevate the heart rate for that 500 meters, that's fine, because you'll be able to get it in control afterwards. So that's like exactly what I did.
And I've said this so many times about Spartan before, and we all love Spartan. It's all great and everything, but for the elites, we do not need to do this a roo thing. Let's spend time telling the rules, get things that are changed, get the technical stuff out of the way, and just give them a proper start. They all know why they're there. They don't need your motivation. They do not need the yellow roo. They all cringe when they do it. Fucking stop doing it to them. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I know like the kind of the last thing I want to do on the start line is like, I'm so laser focused that, kind of in my head, I don't be like yelling at everyone. But like, I get why they do it, but at the same time, I definitely like participate on a lesser level with that for sure.
Yeah, like get the old guys like me in the open waivers, go pump us up, do what we need the extra motivation. You guys don't need it. You're already figuring what you're going to do. You already know how to run. You've got conditioning. You don't need the extra adrenaline to pull you along. So you head out, and we really didn't see much of the beginning, right? So when you first come on, what we saw, probably the biggest event happening was when you guys got to Olympus and to the Stairway to Sparta. Now, those two, we saw a big surprise. We saw Hawk failing Stairway to Sparta and going around and taking that penalty loop. And we didn't see with you guys what happened with you guys. Like, for example, you and Atkins, we really only kind of saw Hawk and Rylan.
Yeah, I feel like it was a bit of a shame that the coverage wasn't a bit better, because the course was absolutely gorgeous, and it would have been so cool to be able to catch more of those critical moments. So anyways, like just briefly taking you through the first climb. Like Rylan was pushing the pace, Hawk was sitting on him, I was sitting behind Atkins, and about halfway up the climb, I decided to pass Atkins and try and maybe close the gap a bit on the two in front of me. They probably ended up about 30 seconds in front of me at the top of the climb. And then it hit this kind of really nice alpine single track section that worked its way down into the gauntlet you were talking about of Olympus and Stairway. And so coming into that, I actually saw Hawk doing his penalty lap, and I was a bit shocked. Although Olympus was hard, so I wasn't actually sure what he failed. It was Olympus or Stairway, but obviously it was Stairway.
Yeah.
I found actually Stairway quite easy in comparison to Olympus. But I guess maybe Hawk just, got unlucky. So.
And I think they called it right when they were doing the commentary, is like, he looked like he tried it once and went, panic, gone, just run. Like it was, rather than maybe I slipped or I can do this again, it was like, it just seemed like it was a fight or flight instinct, and he went with flight, and away he went. So.
Yeah, I think like my theory at least is he was probably really focused on keeping Rylan in sight, and he didn't want to lose any more time than he had to. He grabbed a bad hold to begin with, maybe it was extra slick or something, and then like he thought, oh, it's not going to work. But if he had to try it again, I pretty much guarantee he would have got it.
So you guys went from there, and then onto and this was probably a huge turning point in the race, down to the spear throw. So from there to the spear throw, what happened in between? Because it seemed like you said you got to the climb at the top of the climb ahead of Atkins. Yeah. And then he got to the spear throw before you. So what happened in between there?
Yeah. So it was most of the course actually was a pretty runnable downhill gravel fire road. I wanted to moderate my pace a bit more. I didn't want my legs to blow up. I knew that second climb was coming, which is going to be killer if you really just gun those down. So I chose to be a bit more conservative. On reflection, maybe I should have worn a bit more of a cushioned shoe, and so I could have pushed a bit harder on those downs. But little things like that. Yeah. But so Atkins flew by me on that gravel section coming down into the spear throw, and probably had about like a 5 to 10 second gap going into the Z wall on me. Yeah.
And then obviously they all missed their spear.
It was.
Were you like, unreal. Did you get there and were you like salivating?
I was honestly like,
you're like licking your chop.
Disoriented and confused. I did not understand. And then I got to it and I'm like, oh my God, this spear must be super hard. But it really wasn't. And I hit it and I was like, I was just so confused, honestly. But at the same time, I'm like stoked for sure, but like very confused. So
we just spoke with Margaret Jessen, and she said the same thing. She's like, I don't know why everybody missed it, and then I hit it in the way I went. It's just like. So again, that got all choppy and confusing. But we saw at that point when they came back and you guys came back into the loop, we saw you were ahead of Atkins, and pulling up to the Tyrolean traverse. So from there to there, were you just managing gap? How are you working that?
Yeah, I mean. Again, from there to there, all that was between, there was a bucket carry, and then a 3K section of more of that downhill fire road. And so on the bucket carry, I actually did catch Hawk, who was probably still catching his breath from those burpees. And then he passed me on the fire road going down. He was flying down there, and I was like, for a second, I was like, maybe I should go with him. And then I was like, be smart, Shaun. So I think that's a tough picture.
That's a tough big picture to hold on to, man.
Yeah, no, he was fine though, so it was pretty impressive for sure. So yeah, I came into Tyro in third place, and it looked like Rylan probably had like a couple minute lead on me, and then Hawk was like 30 to 45 in front. So at that point, I was honestly kind of thinking like, don't look in front, look like I was focusing more on Atkins than on the guys in front of me, because I knew like with all the cycling training Atkins was doing, that sort of grade that we were going up was going to be like his bread and butter. So I was definitely a bit worried.
So when you went there though, when you like you said, and when you caught Hawk on the bucket carry, you were aware of your positioning. You knew where you were in the race, because sometimes it gets a little blurred. Sometimes you might, you're not sure if you missed somebody, but I guess with you not failing any obstacles, you'd have a better grasp on it. But so Tyrrell Traverse, you guys get through that, you fly through it, off you go, and you're like I say, you're managing gap on Atkins here, but you're coming up to that climb. How'd your legs feel when you get to the climb? Were you confident you could hold them off, or?
I actually wasn't at the beginning. I didn't feel great going into it. And I imagine no one did, like coming off like a hard downhill like that into like, straight up. It's not going to feel good. I had done the climb a couple times in practice, so I did know what to expect. So I was like, hey, you know what, just believe in your training, work, just focus on keeping quick cadence, try and run what you can, power hike what you can't, and just like focus on going as fast as you can go, rather than worrying about, where Atkins is. Because as soon as I would, like, I didn't look back once, but I'm sure if I did, Atkins would be like back there licking his chops. So I just kind of focused on staying focused on what's in front of me rather than what's behind.
So you just kept trucking, and then you get to all the rest of the obstacles. You threw the rig okay, and you cheated like everybody else and used the piece on top. I'll get it changed one day. One day I'm gonna get that changed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it was like, honestly, if it wasn't wet, I would have done it the quick way. But
No.
Safe, so.
And I mean, you train at the Ninja Gym. I know you're damn good at obstacles. Actually, I think you might be one of the most underrated obstaclers we see, because everybody talks about your ability to climb. Nobody talks about your ability to do the obstacles, and I know different. I've seen it, right? But so I know you would have done it the honorable way, and Aaron Newell would have been proud. But maybe next time. So you come through, you're getting through, and at what point do you realize is just starting to thinking, okay, I can do this, I can finish, I can get this podium? When do you start realizing that, not that you're home and cooled, but that you have this?
Really not until I got off Twister. My hands were cold, the obstacles were wet. I was still worried about slipping. Like, you can make stupid mistakes like that, especially when the hands go, like, it becomes very challenging. So it really wasn't until I finished Twister and hit that bell that I knew I had third place sewn up, which is pretty crazy because that's like 10 meters from the finish. So
I don't know, awesome. that inverted wall could have got you. You could have got stuck.
Oh yeah, that's true. You never know with that one.
So you cross the line, you're third. I mean, so realistically, when you win, and obviously you said you threw all your chips in this race, you knew this was your race, you were going to do your best, you were going to put it all on the line, and no excuses, no whatever. Where did you have yourself finishing? Where did you think did you think in your head, I can pull off a podium, or I'm going for top 5, or what was your goal?
Well, like, I guess at the beginning of the year, I was hoping for top 5. I was like, that would be a solid day. When I saw the field that was going to be there, I thought, those 3 guys are going to like be tough, and then Josiah in the mix as well. Like, I was thinking, yeah, top 5, I think is definitely reasonable. But like, knocking off one of those 3 guys are pretty much going to be the top 3, no matter who else you throw into the mix. So I kind of thought like a podium would be very challenging, but maybe I had a shot at it. So
you become one of the rare people who's beat Atkins on Canadian soil.
Yeah.
I might have to confer with Jack Bauer, but I don't think it's a very long list.
I think Rich told me earlier that I was the first Canadian to ever beat Atkins in an obstacle course race, which is crazy.
I wasn't sure if Boucher had ever done it way back when. So
maybe.
So I'm not sure.
That's what Rich said anyway.
Well, I have to hit Jack, because Jack will have that crap. He'll know right off the bat. He'll probably make fun of me for not knowing. So now you've got it. You got your third place. I mean, this is obviously your breakout breakout race. This is the one, and I think Bracken may have said it, where you finally got to where we all believed you could be, right? That position we thought you could get to. And that, in a way, that might add extra pressure. Like, did you ever feel that, like, you had that extra pressure? Like, I know I have this potential, but for some reason, like you say, the altitude or this or that, it just hasn't all come together. Was it starting to become like a pressure thing where it's like, when is this going to finally happen for me? Or do I just keep plucking and there it'll be,
I think it was more of the latter. I honestly, personally, am not the best when I put pressure on myself. I find that I have to kind of be in a state that's open to accept what's happening right now. If I get too focused on doing something rather than just like being in a flow state, I don't normally do well. I really like to be like with my emotions in a race and be able to really just go with what's going on. And so I find expectations can sometimes throw you off because they can make you doubt yourself. They can make you think you should be doing something else rather than kind of going by your own feel. Like in this race, I 100% raced my own race. And that's the reason like I was able to pull off a third place, is because I didn't get caught up in like what I should be doing. I got caught up in how I was feeling and what I was capable of doing at that moment. And I'm going to really try and keep that mindset going into the future, because I am worried. I definitely am someone who is very analytic, so can get caught up in the stats and the numbers. But I think like the best way I race is when I just go into it and kind of accept the race as it's going on rather than trying to force a certain outcome.
So that said, when you think about running your own race, and that you said something really vital about a key point in the race where you're like, do I go with Hawk or do I let him go? Do you think in that scenario, if you run with Hawk at that point, do you end up blowing up the quads, gassing out, and maybe costing yourself your podium there?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. My calves were on the verge of cramping on the climb. And so, if I had to push a bit harder in the down, they might have fully cramped. And, if your calves are cramping, like, there's nothing you can do about that. So I think, like, if anything, what this race shows is, like, I've got to work on those aggressive downhills, being able to run them harder. And so I can run the ups, because I know I can run those uphills with those guys. I think now it's just being able to put that in combination with the downs. And so I'm not getting gapped all the time. And if I can do that, I can probably maybe even improve a bit on where I am right now.
So was going out there for a month before a complete unfair advantage and in fact cheating?
Well, I guess that's going to be up to debate, but I think it definitely helped. We'll say that.
I think it's completely legit and it's completely cool. I think they make too much of a big deal. I mean, we think back to what time when they got onto Albin at whatever it was, Tahoe, for being on the course beforehand. And I think
Right.
One, I think that was just to drum up a little attention. Two, I think it's absolute bullshit, because you guys can run wherever you want and do whatever you want. If you want to go out there early, you go out there early. That's your call. That's your investment. And I haven't heard anybody saying anything negative about it. I just say back to that one. But yeah, I mean, that just shows to me commitment to the race and willing to do it. And that's what you want. That's what you want out of your athletes, is to get out there and put everything they got. So then you went back and you raced the next day. You did the super, right?
I did. Yeah.
Was the weather better?
Yeah, it was a great day. Beautiful weather. All the obstacles were bone dry. And so that was a lot of fun. I actually speaking of the shoes I wore, I got a really bad black toenail, which I'm still dealing with right now. And so I had a lot of trouble running the downhills. And Atkins, I think, had something approved from the day before. And so he really took it to Rylan and myself. And I ended up just being like, okay, this is not for me today. And I just kind of played on the obstacles a bit and let Rylan and Atkins do their thing.
Yeah, I saw your twister, and I mean, I've done that one before too, and I've heard people all the time like, oh, why don't people do that in races? Well, I'll tell you why, because it's freaking slow.
Yeah, well, I admit that I would love to try that in a race where it's just like you have one kickback and then you go. I intended on doing that, but then I realized that I was right under one of the twisted bars. So if I had a lâché it, my head would just bash right into it. So I had to readjust. And by the time I got going again, it was like probably 4 or 5 seconds, which like you would have been through twisted by then. So
Well, yeah, and I think that's the deal, right? When you do, the only way to make that work is either to come off the first twister onto the side of it so that you got a clear path, or to jump off the box and full jump the spin to get to the other, like we saw Grant McCartney do on the one. Other than that, there's, it's, I can't see it even, I just can't see it being faster. I've yet to see
I would love to someday try and lâché the first one and then link that into the second one, if that's possible. I think that'd be pretty big, and that would be risky, but that would be really cool to see. But
to link that lâché, because of the way the I-beam's in the middle, right? You have the
you have to grab the I-beams.
Yeah, you'd have to get the.
It would be pretty clutch for sure.
It's a tough grab, especially at full tilt. And again, if Spartan wasn't burpees and was just mandatory completion, and you could just run back and do it again, then it might be worth the risk, or you're going head to head. But Spartan's made the risk reward just not there, which is a shame.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that they have some good ones to play on. And I remember at Blue when everyone was having the trouble with the ropes before they said you could grab up top. And I was in the building, I was testing it, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm on the bar here. I think I could just lâché to the bell and skip the ropes, because I was under the impression you couldn't go over top and everyone was going to fall off them. But then I'm looking, I'm like, they got this really high and there's no padding down there.
Right.
I was like, nah. So you wonder why on some of the obstacles everybody doesn't take risks. It's just because it's not worth the extra 1 second you're going to save at Spartan.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons I did do that is I did look at the footing on Twister, and I did know that I wasn't going to break an ankle by making that blind jump, because if it is uneven ground and you're landing, like, that's a risk. That's just not worth it. So,
did you actually do it during the race, or was this just goofing around after?
That was in the super. So not like
you did it during the race though. So that's cool.
Yeah, I did do it. And I didn't realize Isaac was so close behind me, because if I had a burp, I think I would have lost third place. And I thought I had like a bigger gap, but I was going down the hill pretty slow, I guess. So Isaac had a strong close and almost got me.
Cockiness nearly bit you in the ass, huh?
That would have been pretty embarrassing. But
oh yeah, that'd be like raising the hands before you cross the line, and then
yeah.
Well, that's cool. So what's next on the hit list here? Where are we going to? Is Blue the next thing, or what's even the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I'm doing 50K in Whistler, the Whistler Alpine Meadows next weekend. That was kind of one that's been on my radar for a while. I did it last year, and it's going to be really competitive this year, so kind of wanted to give it another shot. Mm-hmm. Then I just booked my ticket for Blue Mountain, so that'll kind of be the next big focus race, which as soon as Whistler is over with, I guess I'll only have like 4 or 5 weeks, but I'll kind of like focus on making sure like my legs are as prepared for that venue as I can be, because that's definitely a very unique venue. And yeah, I'd love to see how that one goes, because I think that potentially could be a good venue for me, but I think it's going to be very competitive as well. So should be really fun to see.
I think it'd be an even more competitive field than what was out in Kelowna, because then
I think
you're going to have VJ show up. You're probably going to have Aaron. You might have Kempson, right? Because it's for like those guys. Not VJ, but the other guys, it's driving distance, right? Like they can drive in. It's a little cheaper to travel.
Right.
Like we talked about this earlier with Margaret, like Kelowna is a beautiful, beautiful spot and a great spot for a race, but not easy for people to get to.
Yeah, it is kind of in the middle of nowhere. Kelowna Airport's pretty small. And then like, even from there, it's an hour up. So yeah, not easy.
So we are very much looking forward to Blue. We talk about it all the time. Can't wait to see all you guys. And what like at Blue Mountain, I think like a top 15 is going to be an amazing finish for people. Like I think it's just going to be that competitive.
It'll be really interesting for sure.
So something that occurred to me, and I was just thinking about it when we were thinking about talking about it tonight, and I was like, one of the times you kind of broke out for some people was actually back for OCR Stars, right? And what I was wondering is, because we talk a lot about the hybrid racing, are you ever going to dip your toe in there? Because clearly you have like the ability to do that kind of thing. Is that something you're ever going to get into or give it a shot?
I'd love to try it, honestly. I've even humored going to like a stadium race or something, which I think would be right up my alley.
Oh yeah, stair climbs.
Yeah, exactly. But I would love to do high rocks. I think like just I've got very unusual skill set, and I think it might work well. Maybe I'm not sure what would be better, high rocks or Deca, but I'd love to like give one of those a try. But I think I want to put a bit of training in beforehand. I know before OCR Stars, like I was being trained up by Rich Ryan for a month. And that was like probably one of the most fun months I had training ever. It just, the really high intensity stuff is something like my body just craves once I start doing it. And I'm like, oh, it's just so much fun every day. I'm just like stoked. So I would love to try it again, but it's kind of like, it doesn't mesh that well with the big mountain races, unfortunately. Although we'll see how Ryland does this weekend, but I think yeah, it's like
you might
that
be
high intensity
wrong.
stuff. Sorry,
You might be proving that one wrong.
he might be. That's true. Yeah, but I would definitely like to give one a go in the near future for sure. Yeah.
I think it'd be great, and I never even really thought about that. But you down at like AT&T Stadium, because I mean that is so much stairs at the Dallas one, right? The Dallas Cowboy Stadium is so much stair climbing. I mean that would be right up your alley, and it doesn't have. I mean you're not dealing with the same crazy technical descents, right? So you're getting the strength, your strengths, but not pulling in the little, I don't want to say weakness, but pulling something that maybe isn't as much of a strength.
Yeah,
pretty, and I think you can take more chances on those obstacles as well, because one, they're freaking easy, and two, I think it's only 15 burpees for a lot of the penalties.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's man, I'd love to see that. Because
Yeah.
I wonder if you're on the Spartan whatever pro teamy thing, tell them pay you down to Dallas. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, next year I'll take a look at it. Do you know when that race is? Is that
I think it's still this year. I think it's coming up.
Oh, is this coming up?
I think it might be in December for some reason. I could be wrong, but
Totally.
yeah. The crack research staff is on it. She's going to find out. Dallas AT&T Stadium race. So,
very good.
but yeah, and beyond that, sorry, last spot. See, you said Deca or High Rocks as to which one would be favor. I mean, normally what you would say is that, well, you need a little more bulk to do High Rocks. But Dylan Scott and Chris Rogowski have been proving that to not be entirely true. So, I mean, really, it just depends. I think really for High Rocks to make it, you just need a really good pair of grippy shoes and away you can go.
Right.
And if you got climbing legs, you should have pushing legs.
Yeah.
It's one and the same. So, but yeah, well, we'd love to see you out and do one of those. And we have to mention too, we're getting our first ever Canada Deca event.
I heard Ontario, right?
Yeah. Just outside of a town called Georgetown. So we'll have time like maybe 30 minutes outside of Toronto. Oh, but just a Deca strong. It's gonna be very fun. I think Bethany or I may get the first lap in, so we might be the first ones to do it. But that'll be fun. Yeah. So that. Any other things for the year? The one other one I really wanted to know about is Abu Dhabi. Is that one that's on your radar? Is that something you're going to make it to? Because you were there last year, right?
I was there last year. I had a knee injury going in, and sand and heat are not two of my fortes. So it's one of those where last year I went because Spartan invited me there, and I really couldn't say no. It was a really cool opportunity. I would go back. I think it's at the end of the year.
Yeah,
I'm planning on doing World Mountain Running Championships in Thailand in November. And so it's a few weeks after that. So it's kind of like, I got nothing going on around then anyways. So I'll probably, if I do that, I'd kind of take a bit of a down period afterwards and then kind of just go back into base phase. So I think it could fit well with my program, but yeah, we'll just have to see what Spartan does. The super course, the shorter course is going to also make it a bit more challenging. And then I'm kind of hoping that they're more in the mountains than the sand this year, but I don't know if they've released any information on that yet, but yeah.
No, they haven't, but I am hearing that it will be a very different course to what the last one was like. So I think from that, I'm kind of gathering there'll be a lot less deep sand trudging. So either it's going to be flat and fast or, more jagged, rocky kind of climbs and stuff like that. So
right.
We shall see from there, but I think that'd be another good one. I would like the one other one, sorry, and I did think was OCRWC, because that seems, again, like I say, you are very underrated on the obstacles, and that seems to play to your skill set, but I don't think that's on your radar.
you know, it's funny because it wasn't. And I was actually talking to Annie Doody because she just booked her ticket and she kind of inspired me to look into it. And I looked into it and it's going to be quite expensive to get there. So just like, especially with this 50K next weekend, it's like the recovery window is going to be quite short, unfortunately. If I wasn't registered for this 50K, I'd probably seriously consider it because I would love to get a shot at that race. And those obstacles, they look like a ton of fun. I went to it once prior to like my climbing and ninja days. And I remember just like getting pumped so early on and it being like so infuriating. But the obstacles just looks like so much fun. I just love to play on them for sure.
Which one did you hit? What year?
I think that was 2017.
So that would be the second year of blue.
I think that was right. Yeah. Or maybe 2016.
Okay, 2016 was the first year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently Dallas is in June. So it did already happen. So,
okay. Well,
okay. She says there's other ones. We'll look into stadium stuff. We got to get you down for one of those. Come on. There's got to be one around Seattle. Doesn't Seattle have a stadium? They should have a stadium.
we do. Yeah. No,
California. There you go. That's not too bad.
it's not too bad. Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to see you, like I said, yeah, if your obstacles aren't on, then OCRWC can be a bit rough. But like you say, with you ninjing, that'd be good. Now, are you competing in ninja anymore? Are you still coaching or?
Yeah. So the gym we had actually had to close because of COVID. So the owner of the gym actually sold it to a couple of employees. So I'm one of the new owners of the gym.
Oh.
We just last week signed a lease on a new space. So we'll be opening next year. And we'll have most of the same obstacles. The space is really exciting. They're still building it. So we've had a lot of input on what the space is actually going to look like. We're going to have a lot more mezzanine area for birthday and parkour stuff. And I'm really excited at like how it's going to come together. And yeah, once I get back, I'm going to be training like all the time on that. So. And
was this was Squamish, was it?
Squamish, yeah, the Squamish Ninja Gym.
Yeah, because I remember like when I guess it would have been 2019, 2020. When I was kind of heavily competing in the Canadian Ninja League, I remember looking at results from out there to see how the standings were going and how I was doing and stuff. So I remember seeing that gym and they looked like there was a lot of good talent out in BC for the ninja. You know?
Oh, there is, yeah, especially like from like the Lower Mainland area. They're really good. And I think whenever you have people at that level, like some of the best ninjas in the world. I know a couple of them have like, I think Podium at the Ninja League World Championships.
Yeah.
So whenever you have someone like that, it kind of resets your frame of what's possible and like of how fast you can do things and what exactly you can do. And so like anytime I trained with them, it's like I felt like I just got like a level boost, which was really cool.
When I go now, and I don't go near as often, I do most of my training just in my garage, but when I see the young kids and I go now, and it's like before when we were showing up, it was people who came from another sport and started doing this. They were climbers, they were gymnasts, they were weightlifters, whatever. Now these kids are coming up from like 4 years old as ninjas, boom, 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 and they are just doing things that are mind-boggling. Like it just blows you away. And I was like, wow, like just watching some of the kids fly, even my son and some of his friends, just what they can do just because that's how they've been, that's how they've been raised. They didn't have a hockey stick. They didn't, they were out in the ninja gyms. Oh crap. It's so amazing. They have so blown me away. I'm almost embarrassed to go out on the courses now.
No, absolutely. I mean, like just this year on American Ninja Warrior, for instance, like I think three of the 5 people that made it to stage 4 were like teenagers. So
yeah,
it's the new era, and I think if you haven't been training on ninja equipment for like years, you're just gonna be way behind.
I swear, when I look at it, I think like the only ones that I see that's almost like adulthood that I think has a chance again is still Joe Moravsky.
Yeah,
and terribly unfortunate what happened to him this year, but
yeah, totally. It would have been really cool to see him out there, but
and I mean, we actually should say we don't talk a lot of ninja here, so I'm glad to talk a little bit. It's nice for a change. But and essentially he got down there ready to compete stage 1, and then while he was fine, his wife tested positive for corona. And then as such, staying together, he was a no-go. They made him pull out of the competition, which is very disappointing because I think he was looking in great shape.
You know, 5 people made it to stage 4 and no one got up the rope. I was kind of shocked. Have you ever done a 70-foot rope climb?
No, I think the most I've ever done, to be honest, is like 35.
Yeah, I haven't either. So I'm kind of speaking out of my butt saying that it's doable, but I'm just like surprised that, none of them, like it seemed like they all had trained it, but yet they all kind of gasped at the half to 3/4 point and they just couldn't pull it off.
Well, and we got to think too, like, I mean, the way we see the show, it's all edited and everything, but those guys, most of the time they're doing that, it's like in the middle of the night. They've been there all day, warm up, cool down, and they've done like 2-3 hard, really courses, and they're burnt out, right? And then, so there's a bit that there's, a lot of endurance that we don't put into it. So
it's a good point. Yeah, sure.
It adds up. I would like to see something different. I mean, my son told me this, so I don't know, but I think in Japan, they actually had one where it was like a spider climb to a salmon ladder to a rope climb, all straight up. And I'm like,
I think I recall seeing that. Yeah, that's right. That would be cool.
That would be awesome. I'd like to see that. But anyway,
I would also, I think alternatively, something like Ultimate Beastmaster, where they actually do them side by side and they have like a bunch of different options. So like you can choose the risky option or you can choose the safer option and risk reward. Kind of interesting to watch too. But.
Yeah, I love that ninja versus ninja stuff too. I'd like to see that, which essentially is going to be what like Olympic OCR will apparently look like. Yeah. But we'll save that for another call. We'll go through that one on whether that's a good or a bad thing. But man, I want to thank you very much for doing this. Again, congratulations. We are all super proud, and you couldn't be a better representative of here. And just glad you had your breakout, and can't wait for more to come, man.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. I'm excited for what's next for sure.